Hello, YouTube land. This is Brenton Son coming to you from Lexington, Kentucky, the Bluegrass State. Um, I noticed that many of you have really liked these Bigfoot stories, so I've been looking for more of those, and I've had some luck with some pretty good stories here lately. And I've got a guy today who has a really interesting story. Then it's a little bit scary even. And he's going to tell his story today. So before we start, though, I would like to ask that everyone who subscribes, who is not in my Google Circles, go and add yourself to Google Circles. Go to my Google Plus page, or just figure out how to do that. If you're on a phone, I think you go to About and click Google Plus, and then it takes you to where you'll see Add to Circles underneath the profile picture, and add yourself to Circles, because that's the way I give people updates. And as soon as I upload a video, I send that out to everyone, so you know immediately, and you don't have to wait on YouTube to alert you that there's been an upload from your subscribed channels. So do that, please, and I'll keep you up to date on what's going on. And today we're going to talk with Jonathan. He lives in Georgia, and we're just going to go by his first name and tell the state that he lives in. And if he feels like he wants to share any further than that, then he's welcome to do that. And this will just protect some of the people he may be mentioning in these videos, in this story, what have you. So anyway, let's just get started. Jonathan, how you doing, man?
Pretty good, pretty good.
All right, man. Well, I really enjoyed talking with you earlier, man. You got some fascinating stuff that you were telling me, man. I'd love that more than even the videos. If someone said they have a Bigfoot video or a Bigfoot picture, those are fine and those are good. But for me, I love listening to the stories of the encounters that people have. And it's just fascinating to listen to the things that happen in other people's lives, and the crazy things that they come across in their lives, and different locations around the world even. And so I really appreciate it, man. And if you would start with the story of when you were a kid, kind of tell us what age you were, and about going to deer hunting and all that kind of stuff, and lead up to that camper thing. And I don't want to give it away, but if you'd start there, man, I think that everybody will really like this one.
Yeah, my cousin and I, we used to go hunting all the time and all. It was kind of like a little retreat. We go up to a little area outside of around McRae area in Georgia, and we would like hunt and fish like that. And we was allowed to stay like in a camper, kind of off from everybody else, so we could have our privacy, and and hunt and fish when we wanted to. And one night we went hunting probably maybe 6-7 o'clock in the evening, and the route we would take, it's probably close to maybe about a mile somewhere along there. It was a good little walk, and then we was going to settle in, and we decided we was going to do it like a late night deer hunt. And being kids, we was probably about maybe 12, 13, wasn't thinking real clear, and we decided we'd bring us a wheelbarrow. That way, if we killed a deer or something like that, we wouldn't have to haul this deer, this long distance back to the camper and all that.
I like that idea, man. You were saying we weren't thinking. I mean, shoot, if you shoot a deer, man, them things are they'd be heavy for a couple kids to carry a long distance. So I think the wheelbarrow idea was awesome. If you didn't have a four-wheeler,
Yeah, that's true. But when we went, we started out on our second hunt of that particular day. We had gotten about halfway through. We was at a point where really there wasn't really no return. Either you go back the same way you came or go on. We decided to go on, and we I looked down and I saw like a set of looked like cat prints, kind of like a panther or some kind of cat. And as we was walking along, I asked my cousin, I said, well, how long have these, you've been noticing these prints? Well, it was a while, because he didn't want to spook and all that. And, let's say I hadn't been hunting long. He's the one that take me out there and taught me how to shoot a gun and how to handle a gun and stuff like that. I was kind of new at it. And we decided we'd go back a little ways and see, where it started. And you could see it in the woods where it kind of came out in the woods, and it just followed right along our tracks. It was like walking behind us. So we decided that, you could take a long way around and a short way. We decided to take the short way, but if you go through the short way, you'd be going through this big brush on this little trail that they used to go in between the two fields and stuff.
And how big was the cat prints? Just so everybody kind of knows.
It was not quite as big as a hand. It was maybe 3/4 the size of your hand.
But that's still pretty big for a cat, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Because I've never seen any black cat prints or anything like that prior to that. I mean, my father had told me about, they was like some panthers and stuff, and some people think that there are black panthers and some don't. My father had an encounter with one, so I know they exist. There's other people that's come up on them.
Right.
And I assumed that's what it was. I mean, it's some kind of cat, because there wasn't any dogs in that area.
Right.
So it had to be some kind of cat.
Right.
And as we was walking along, we would start to go down through in between the brush on the trail, and I was looking to my right, and he was looking to his left, and we was going through there to kind of make sure that we didn't get ambushed, because that would be a perfect ambush thing, because you couldn't see the end of the trail. Once you get in there, I mean, anything could just jump in and you would be toast. So I'm sitting there and I'm looking, and I see a set of eyes, like eye shine, and I was telling before I could tell my cousin, I'm like, hey, look over here, kind of lure him that there's something on my side, because there wasn't nothing on his side.
Wow.
And before he could turn around, I seen another set, and when he turned around, you could see a set of 2 eye shines, and you could tell that they was looking right at us.
So it was two sets, like it was not just 2 eyes, but it was like 4 eyes, like 2 sets of eye shines.
Right.
Whoa.
And so once we got through there, we went to the camper, and let's say it was kind of late, and he was tired, and we had settled in, and excuse me, we had our guns and stuff set up right there at the camper. It's one of those campers that you put in the back of a pickup truck, and you have to have the 4 jacks to pick them up. They're kind of heavy.
Right.
And that's what this camper was sitting on. And we had like an extension cord run out for, like, if we needed to drop live or anything like that. That was the only thing you could really run on it.
Right.
And we had gotten to sleep, and I don't know what woke me up. I don't know if it was my cousin, but he we noticed that we started kind of hearing like noises and stuff, and all of a sudden the camper just started shaking, like somebody had really just picked it up and was just shaking it, vibrating. That's that. It was a couple like kids and things like that on it, and and there for a while, we heard something like it was kind of like circling the camper.
Wow.
And we was, up to that point, I wasn't really afraid of anything other than, the things that I had went through. That was, I never heard of Bigfoot, anything about Bigfoot or any kind of animals other than, and as we was laying there, kind of waiting on daylight to come, the door handle started turning,
Man.
and this this place is like out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, the nearest person other than that trailer is a good half mile in any direction, and it's not like somebody's going to come up and try to turn the handle and pick one of these good-sized campers up and shake it. And
Right.
then,
Plus, if they
finally,
know that you're out there hunting and you have guns, I mean, that would be dumb. A person
right,
wouldn't
well,
go out there and shake the camper and try to wiggle the doorknobs and stuff like that. So at this point, what was you thinking that it was?
we didn't, to be honest with you, we really didn't know what it was. It was, it's harder to describe. It was, we was really scared. I mean, I've been through a lot of frightening stuff. I've seen some really, really bad things, but there's nothing compared to the fear I felt that night. I've been shot at. I've had people try to stab me through behind, and
Right.
none of that fear compares to that. It was almost like this thing, like something was just projected. I mean, we was really, really scared, And,
That's interesting because a lot of times when someone is sleeping and they're in their tent or in the camper, those kind of situations, I've heard these kind of stories a few times, and when the Bigfoot or whatever is around. The people talk about being scared beyond what is normal, like if a bear was around, or beyond what if a cat was around. It seems to be almost that they project fear, like you're talking about, like you can feel the gravity of the creature,
right.
and almost it's strange, man. It's almost like maybe they are emitting some kind of infrasound, or what are they doing that causes that kind of fear? But when he shook the camper, did you feel like maybe it was about to knock the? Did you feel like it was a something that was walking on 2 feet when you were hearing the noise?
I think that's what woke my cousin up, and because I think he heard some noise. Cause I can't. There's parts of I was so scared. Some of the stuff I've kind of blocked out, and some of the stuff through doing research, I'm able to recall a lot of it, and that might have been what woke him up. But
Right.
all I remember is I woke up and and then we started hearing noises, and then the camper started shaking, and I was like, when you wake up, you're kind of disoriented, but it was like you wake up, you're disoriented, and was just fear was just pouring all over me. I mean, to be honest with you, my cousin and I, we were so scared that we didn't want to go out bad. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I hadn't told you earlier, but he had a set of knives, and like I say, we was really, really scared.
Right.
And if this thing was, when it was shutting the door, we didn't know if we was going to be able to handle it with the guns and the ammo we had.
Right.
And like I say, we didn't want to go out bad. If we couldn't kill this thing, because there was like them old throwing knives. There's like 6 of them. He gave me 3, and he got 3.
Right.
And it was like one of them deals where worst to worst, we'll take our own self out, because we didn't know what we was dealing with. We didn't know what was going on. We was young kids. We didn't know. We was scared.
Right. So you felt threatened, basically, like this thing was tormenting and meant harm to you. Is that right?
Exactly.
Right.
I say I was physically abused when I was a kid, and I took some really bad beatings, and I've seen my mom get beaten, and I've seen some really horrible stuff, and that kind of fear is nothing compared to, and I've never felt anything since.
Right.
I mean, it's
Wow.
I mean, you don't. Now you have to redefine fear when you feel whatever that is. I don't know if they call it that zapping, what do they call that, but all I know is
The zapping seems to be a little bit different what you're talking about, but that may be like a form of it, and that's what I sometimes would try to make some do some of these interviews and not go into the supernatural aspects of the theories and what have you that I have on every single video, but there's something different about these kind of creatures on the how they are able to make people feel that goes beyond what any other type of animal is able to do. Like you said, you've been through a lot of bad things that even give you PTSD, but nothing drove fear into you like this. So there's something different about it, and that's about as far as I want to go into it on that supernatural aspect. But yeah, I mean your story's a fairly common part of the part of your story about the fear is very common in what these things do. They're not teddy bears, like where you go out in the woods and communicate with them and things like that. So go ahead, man.
Because that was the thing is, all the stuff that we went through, going to the camper, like we go there for Thanksgiving and Christmas and sometimes during the summer. That was like my retreat to get away from things that was going on at home. I mean, it was our happy place. I mean, we could go fishing anytime we wanted. Nobody said you can't go fishing at 10 o'clock at night, or if you want to go hunting, but whatever. I mean, it was relaxing. And and then to have that happen, and it was bad.
Right.
And like I said, we got up the next morning, and you can tell where something had a complete circle around our camper, because it was like the grass was kind of up a little bit, and you could tell something had walked around and beat the grass down,
Right.
and it was it was scary. I mean,
I bet, man. Especially when the doorknob starts turning, man. That's horror movie stuff. When they
right. I mean, it was like taking a knife to a gunfight. It's like you're looking at your gun going, this looks like a BB gun. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was. Yeah. We didn't. I don't recollect seeing anything. But, this thing moving, it had to have a lot of strength because those things are not heavy. This thing was fully loaded. It had like a shower, stove, refrigerator.
Right.
It slept 6 people. I mean, this thing was, and it was like from the 70s. It was a hunk of lead,
Right.
I mean, one person ain't gonna pick that thing up and shake it the way that thing was shook.
Yeah.
And that was another thing. I always remember when we looked to the side of the camper that was closest to the trailer, you could tell where there was marks where like something had kind of clawed up kind of high up. This thing was sitting. The top part was seeing the scratches had to be a good 7.5 feet, somewhere along in there. It was all up there, and it was.
So he was shaking the trailer. He was shaking the camper from up that high, like 7.5 feet.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, because you could tell where it looked like something with either fingernails or something, and you could only see 3 of them. It was. It
actually had scratch, like there was fingernail action going on with it.
Something had scratched and indented it. Like I say, it was kind of high up, and like I say, we was kids. We wasn't really all that tall at the time, so and we didn't have a ladder to really get up there and look and see. But you could tell where like fresh, like scratch marks and kind of like indentions on that one side.
When you were telling me about this, and you mentioned the cat tracks and and things like that. I mean, I couldn't help but to wonder um, if if it maybe was dog, because I know that the cat tracks, the large cat tracks sometimes look similar to the Dogman tracks, and I know that
Right.
the Dogman have claws on their hands. You know, I mean maybe not. I don't know, just a guess,
Right.
and even the fear thing. I know the Dogmen seem to project the fear even worse than the Bigfoot, from what I've heard. But you know, since I've never had the encounter with either one, I don't know. But yeah, it was sounds like to me it was either a Sasquatch or a Dogman. And down in that area, what do they call the Bigfoot? Don't they call them something else, like
Well,
boogers or?
close to like the state line where I'm at, uh, it was only about 35 miles from Tallahassee, Florida. You know, they call them down in the Florida area and all. I've heard them called skunk ape.
Right. Okay.
And I mean, you know, at that time I didn't have any names because I mean I didn't know anything about it. We stayed in the neighborhood when we was I think it was like in the 80s. This was like a low lying area, and I never really understood why they call it Booger Bottom. You know, I was like, man, why do they call us Booger Bottom?
Oh wow, that's
Right.
interesting. Oh.
That was the name. This place was. You come through there at night. You know, because you right where we lived. You went up over a hill and you went down in like a valley, and it was kind of like down in the valley, and right in front of the property that we had, they all either had like corn or peanuts or things of that nature.
Right.
And talking about that, some friends we always had like bonfires. I was living out in the country, there wasn't a whole lot to do, so we always had like these big bonfires and things like that. And I went this time. I think I was like 16, somewhere along in there. And I went to go get some beer with a friend of mine from his house. And on the way back, they said that something was watching them. And I was like, you know, I'm like, well, what are y'all talking about? And I mean, I didn't see it, but there was like 4 or 5 people there, and they said that they seen something peeking out behind the tree at them, you know.
Yeah.
And I you know, I'm kind of glad I didn't see that, because when they was telling me about that, you know, I kind of backed up, and you know, I didn't want this thing coming out behind the tree, jumping the fence, you know, and causing some trouble. So
Yeah.
we didn't have any weapons or anything. We were just sitting by this big campfire, just talking, laughing, and, you know, just having a good time, you know. I mean, but you know, so I guess a lot of people call them like buggers or whatever. I mean, but at the time, I mean, I didn't have the name. I mean, I didn't know anything about them.
Yeah.
Either the Bigfoot, Dogman, or anything like that.
Yeah, down in your neck of the woods, a lot of people call them boogers. Some people call them like no necks, no
Right.
heads, even. You know, there's different things like that. So there's a place to be called Booger Bottom. That right there's a huge clue to what's going on there, because you don't name something like that without there being a reason. So. But what happened with the tree peaker?
It peaked for a while, and then it just, cause like it was really dark, and it just stopped, and you know, everybody went on about what they was doing, and we didn't have any more interaction. We just like someone was coming up, checking out, you know.
Right.
But you know, because this place was like out in the woods. There was one time where we was going to the guy that I went to go get the beer with. We was having a bonfire at this was the subdivision. It's got like 3 roads. So we went over to the first road, And a friend of mine was telling me, I mean, this was like out in the woods. To tell you how far out in the woods, they was telling me that an owl had come down and kind of swooped down on their head, and I was kind of laughing at them, going like, y'all crazy, man, you know, y'all done had too much beer, y'all done, you know. And as we was getting toward the end of the road, the name of this road is Deer Valley Road, and or Deer Valley Drive, and I think Thomas Lane or something like that. As we was getting down towards the street, I felt, because this was wintertime, and I felt something like a cold wind behind my head, and then just out of the blue, I felt these cold like nails just come reaching, just kind of like just rubbing over the top of my head. And as it went on, you could see this owl flopping and all, and I was like, okay, that's, you know, I believe you now, you know. And there's like wild hogs out. We even, that matter of fact, that night we was going, when we got there, everybody decided they was going to go hunting. And we heard a noise, so we thought it was them coming back from hunting. There was like 3 of them. And as they was coming back, we heard something coming out of the wood line, so we thought it was him. It was me, a guy named Jeff, and his brother. We was all standing there by the fire waiting on him to come back. And as it started coming close, we noticed that it was like a wild hog. So I was thinking, what is this wild hog doing? You know, we got this big fire, you know, and there's you know, those outdoor lights and stuff, because we had the fire pretty close there, so everything was lit up. And this thing come up to the fire where we was at, so we, you know, we took tail and run and went in the house, and we was told, hey, look, there's a wild hog out there by the fire. And they was like, nah, you crazy? I'm like, well, look, you can see it. And this hog went up there and sit down within about 4 foot of the fire, and just sitting there, I guess just warming his tiny up or something. I don't know, I guess it was cold or something running out of the woods or something, but it came up there and it was sitting by the fire for a while.
Wow.
You know?
Huh.
And
that is strange.
Huh?
That is weird, man. I've heard of deer doing that when Bigfoot was chasing them. They'd go up and sit right under someone's deer stand. But that's that's weird. Wonder, is there any way it could have been someone's pet or something? Or?
Well, when the people that was hunting, they because we thought it was them that had run them out, but they come from the other side of the street in the other part of the woods, completely the opposite direction from where this wild hog come out, you know.
Huh.
And you know, it was, you know, because I always heard stories that, you know, they'll tear you up, you know, and I'm like, no, I didn't want to get tore up, you know.
Yeah, right, yeah. Yeah, those wild hogs are very dangerous, man, those tusks and stuff.
Yeah, because we around in this area, we eat up with them. And my cousin, he's had some encounters with, from him, you know, my cousin, he works for a police department. He's been there for over 20 years. I mean, he's good at observing stuff. And 2 years ago, his wife and was going out because he has like chickens and pigeons and things of that nature. And she was going out to feed the goats. And when she got out there around the hog pens, something growled at her. Well, we don't have any bears here in South Georgia, you know?
Right.
So, and in March of this year, he was telling me that him and his wife, they stepped out on their back patio and they seen something very large. He estimated to be about maybe 7.5, 8 foot tall. It was pretty tall. It was bent over, like reaching into the goat pen. And I guess when it got noticed, it took off. He said it took off, I mean, at a high rate of speed, you know, real fast. And as it was leaving, it went, I guess, to step over or jump over a 4-foot fence, and bent the fence up real bad, just kept right on trucking like it didn't even slow him down.
Wow.
I don't know if it was trying to get the baby goat. I don't know if it was trying to get the what they was feeding, like the sweet oats and stuff like that. I don't know what it was, but you know, and he also had a problem. He also has chickens and pigeons, and he's had a couple of pigeons over the past couple of years where the head is pulled off, and he said the head is pulled off, and there's no blood around. It's like, you know, and the other location, the first encounter that I had, he had pigeons there and chickens, and we had problems with something getting in and killing the pigeons like that.
Right. Yeah.
They don't like pigeons or something.
Yeah, they pull the heads off of stuff too, as I hear that kind of often. Wow, it sounds like he had a lot of stuff around there that would be food, you know, for any Sasquatch or booger or whatever you want to call them, you know. Sweet oats,
Yeah,
I think that they would like something like that, you know, sweet oats, and then all the goats and all. I mean, that sounds like a smorgasbord to me. You would think
that's exactly what he said, because there's a peanut field currently now behind his property, and between the peanut field and his property, there's a little valley, and there's a little stream that runs through there, and also on the other side they have like corn and stuff like that, different crops, and from his property there's a milling company that grinds corn, sweet oats, things like that. It's not no more maybe 5, maybe 6 miles through the woods, and there's different fields between the milling company and where his house is. There's in that area there's a lot of farm area, and it's like really isolated. Because where he's at, there's only maybe, I think, 3 or 4 homes, and then they're all backed up against the woods like his house is.
Right. Huh.
So.
Sounds like you got a very squatchy kind of place down there. That's for sure. Now, you were telling me about some other encounters with because I've been also collecting a few stories of large bird creatures, and I really didn't know what to ever think about that until the first story that I got, and the guy was telling me about it. It attacked them at nighttime, and then it was charcoal colored, and it was by the river where they were fishing, and it made, after he explained it, it made a lot of sense to how that bird, being that color, coming out at night, and the way things that it was doing, it made sense to me that it could be something real, just like the Bigfoot situation, and stay hidden, because something that's charcoal black at nighttime, you'd have a hard time seeing that if it wasn't for some light source showing you that, you know. But if you would tell us some about those stories.
Well, the first time I seen anything like that, excuse me, we I said we was going through some stuff, and I was, that particular night I was really distraught, so I just wanted to go for a walk. You know, it was late at night, maybe 10, something like that. It was late, and I just wanted to walk and just clear my head, and as I was walking out toward, and this was in that area that I told you that they called Booger Bottom. I walked down, and then when you go to your right, you go up, and there's a little cul-de-sac, and when you go to the left, you can go down between the field and the woods, and then after that, it's just nothing but just thick woods and stuff like that. And right there at the last light pole before you go out, really out in the woods, I seen something that was perched on top of the actual light pole itself, and it looked to be approximately 3.5, maybe 4 feet, somewhere on in there. And I looked over at it, and there was enough light that you could see the texture of the skin and kind of the color. From what I could see, it looked like a charcoal gray or kind of like a grayish color. And what I thought was weird, this thing didn't have any feathers on it at all, none. And as I kept walking, I was like, well, maybe if I just walk on by and don't make no noise, it'll leave me alone. I'll just go on my walk, and you know, and this thing just all of a sudden just took off and just started gliding. It glided right in front of me, maybe might have been 5-10 feet in front of me, maybe a little bit more. It had a huge wingspan. And it just glided down low like it was going toward the ground and started picking up altitude. And as it went by me, you could see that it didn't have any feathers, and it had like a more of a skin. It was weird. You know, and it just went right on by, and I seen that, and I turned around and I went back the other way and went back to the house. I didn't want to have nothing to do with that, you know.
Right. What kind of shaped head did it have?
It was a small, like, bird head, because when I seen it glide, I wasn't really looking at the head as much as I was just stunned at the wingspan this thing had, and how it was just gracefully just going down, and then it started, you know, went kind of low for a little while and just picked up, and I was just looking at the wingspan. I mean, I was, you know, I really wasn't paying that much attention to the head as it was to, you know, like I say, the body and all that. I mean, you couldn't. I guess it had its legs or whatever it was perched on. It had it underneath it, and you could see this large wingspan just, and it was gone. You know.
Yeah.
And we had another instance. We had something similar to that, and this was in a major city, not far from that. And we was trying to cook some lamb somebody could give us. And being, you know, 16, 17, we was, you know, we didn't know how much charcoal to put in to really get this lamb cooked the way we wanted. And it went out, and then we had to put pine in, and then with white pine, it gets so hot, it just melted the thing off, so we cooled it. So we wound up getting this thing about cooked, you know, until about 3 o'clock in the morning. When about 2:30 in the morning, something flew overhead and it hit the chimney of the house and hit the ground, and then turned around and just, you know, got up and flew off. I mean, and it had the skin was similar, and there wasn't no feathers or anything like that. I mean, it just got up, took off, and it was gone. And I mean, in a flash. But what made me see it was when it hit the chimney and went down. I mean, it made a thud. Yeah. You know, maybe it wanted that lamb or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's incredible, man. I mean, I like that one because it seems like it was going to cruise by, you know, maybe checking out the scene there. It cruised by, but it didn't see the chimney, and bam, it hits the ground. And so it fell all the way and thudded on the ground, and then basically gets up and flies off. Right.
Right, that's correct.
And how big of a wingspan did this one have?
We didn't get to see the wingspan because we was on the porch, and when it hit, you know, we kind of leaned over, and only it was like maybe part of one wing, you know, it flopped, and then it just got up and took off, and really, we only seen the last maybe, I don't know, maybe a foot or so from the tip out, you know. We didn't get to see like the rest of the body and stuff like that. I mean, it hit, it was dark, and it just took off.
Huh. And it was
I had a pretty good headache.
Yeah, sounds like it. Well, it sounds like maybe there's some big pterodactyl type, or there's another type. The pterodactyl has the long, elongated head where from the neck there's as long a part that juts off the back of the head as there is the front, and then there's another type that people see sometimes that doesn't have the part that comes off the back of the head, and it has a tail. So there's a few different types that people see, and there's more types than that too.
Right.
But
that one that was the one in front of me, I mean, I was just so stunned by its wingspan and the way it was doing that. It was like I was just focused just on the wings and stuff. I mean, You know,
Right.
I was just, it
Well,
was stunning.
if it had the pterodactyl head, I believe you would have noticed that. So it might have been a
Right.
different type, the other type or something like that. And you didn't see a tail on it, did you?
I don't remember seeing a tail. It might have had one, but like I said, when it come across me, I was looking at the wings, you know, and trying to figure out what
Right.
the thing was. I mean, all the birds I've ever seen had feathers, and this thing didn't have feathers, and it was flying, and it didn't make no sense,
Right.
you know.
Wow.
You
I
know.
tell you what, if I was a Bigfoot squatcher, man, down in your area, I think I'd be down there in Booger Bottom checking things out. Uh, you know, but I don't know.
Yeah, but
I don't know if I'd
the
want
name,
to find these creatures. I think they're a lot more scary than people want to believe. You know, there's a lot of people that hear these stories and they want to go out and find one. But I think that maybe you might be wishing for something that you. My dad used to say, "You bite off more than you can chew." You know,
mm,
you bite off something you
yeah,
can't chew up, and because I know that a lot of people run into them on accident, and that it's a terrifying thing because they're so large, they're so extraordinarily different that that it's a traumatic thing. It's not something that's enjoyable typically. You
right.
know.
Because I mean, it's like an assault on your senses because you've never seen anything like that before. You don't know what it is, and
Yeah.
it's like you're struggling to try to figure out what is this thing, you know,
Yeah.
and it's to me it just when I see like the wings and stuff, and it was just like a, yeah, I don't know. I guess your senses go into overload. What is this? What is it? You know,
Right.
what's it going to do? You know, you don't know. You know,
Right.
um, um, you know, kind of there for a while. You know, kind of in the Booger Bottom area, it made me think for a while about, you know, wanting to go walking by myself, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I tell you what, the pterodactyl encounter that one of the pterodactyl encounters that I have on my channel there, um, the thing was really large, and it came down on four people that were fishing. Um, I had one of the guys gave me an interview, and the other one of the other cousins, it was him and three cousins. He said that he would come on an interview, and I haven't really followed up and done another interview. So, but more of the witnesses were willing to come forward. But anyway, the pterodactyl was basically flapping its wings, and it was trying to pick one of the guys up, and they felt like if it had grabbed a hold of one of the cousins, that it would have been able to fly off with him because it had a wingspan that was like 30 feet or something. They felt like it would not had a problem flying off with their cousin, and so they were hitting it with fishing rods, and they didn't know what else to do. You know, since the only thing they had was fishing rods, they were slapping it with, and it was flapping its wings and kind of coming down a little bit and grabbing at the cousin, and then kind of flapping back up a little, and it finally ended up taking off. But the wind from the wings flapping was, he said there was a lot of down pressure force from that, so it was a heck of an encounter, and you know, I think some of the 411 missing people stuff may have, because I know that whenever I was listening to some of those 411 missing people in the state park stories, they talk about it seems like someone was dropped from above because their legs will be broken. They'll be found, you know, and it's like there's not a cliff around and there's not this or that. When I heard that story, that's immediately what I was thinking, that maybe sometimes they get picked up by these things, and as it's flying off, it drops them to try to kill them, or you know, or whatever. I don't know, but it's a fascinating thought. I'll tell you that, and the Bigfoot stuff too. I think they might be responsible for some of the missing people between the pterodactyl stuff, the Bigfoot, and the dog man. People come up missing, and there's no logical explanation. Do you have any more stuff you want to tell?
That's pretty much it. I mean, you know, the only thing I got to say to everybody is, you know, be careful what you wish for, because these things, you know, you don't get out there and play flutes with them. They're, you know, I say they could be dangerous. I mean, you know, only thing I can think of that really made this thing get to where it wanted to do what it done was maybe the sound of this wheelbarrow beating and banging with the gun, one of the guns playing in it. We had shells and stuff, so this thing was making a bunch of racket. You know, we was young kids, and you know, and we did see a couple deer that night. But they, you know, there was so many deer out there. They just act like they didn't care whether we was there or not. You know,
Right.
um,
Yeah, I know you were trying to figure out why it would have assaulted you all in the camper like that, and I think maybe it's just because you were in their territory and they wanted to scare you to leave. Um, Nothing more or much than that, you know. I don't think necessarily the wheelbarrow ticks them off, but if if a Bigfoot came and was hanging out in your living room, you'd probably want it to go. So you were probably in his living room. You were in Booger Bottom, and they was like, you know, I mean, it's just a guess. You know. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Booger Bottom. I mean, because we was always having campfires, and we're not talking about having like maybe a couple sticks of wood. We're talking about the fires was up high enough that the forestry place, I'll just say West County, and it was a good, I know it was a good 10 miles away from where we was at. And it got to the point to where we'd have these big fires, and they kept coming out. And it was like, hey, look, y'all gonna have a big bonfire like that, just let us know, because we dig a big pit, maybe 3 or 4 feet, and we fill it up with firewood, and you know, we'd sit there and talk, and you know, and drink maybe a couple cold beers. You know how it is. I mean, as I say, this was in the '80s, and I was younger, and you know, just having a good time, just sitting by the fire, you know, talking, and you know.
Right. Hey, those are good times, man. Being out in the wilderness, you know, with a campfire and hunting, fishing, all that kind of stuff. Oh man, I love it, man, and that's kind of why I'm, you know, I've had a few encounters. I've never really seen a Bigfoot or Sasquatch, anything like that, but I've been out there before and I heard the limbs snapping and those kind of things, and I kind of got spooked a little bit and had to try to put it out of my mind. But yeah, I got a little bit scared there a few times when I was out there. But I love being out in the wilderness, and it's very, very fun. Now, also, you were saying that you seen some of the did you see a video of mine on Sasquatch Chronicles? Hello? Well, sounds like, folks, that we lost him there at the end. He said something about that he's seen my channel featured on Sasquatch Chronicles, and I thought that was pretty cool because I really dig that show, man. They have story after story after story. That's kind of what they do on their show. So you might want to check that out. And if they featured me and he said they had a link or something, it takes you to my channel. That's great, man. I appreciate them doing that. So if you're watching from Sasquatch Chronicles, thank you. Appreciate it. And I know that the host for those shows, I sent one of them a message earlier, ironically, and asked them to come on because I had some questions about one of their stories. But anyway, subscribe, share these videos, like the videos, and comment, and please do share the videos, because if everybody shared the videos, that would double the amount of views you get, and that would be really good for me. But anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed it, and that was Jonathan, and he was really nervous about coming on, but he did a fantastic job, I thought. No need to be nervous when you're talking to me. So anyway, God bless you all, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.